Giants are one of those teams in a weird position. But I think I look at their offseason and I say the least I can give them is a B+. And this is you're either someone who hates the Daniel Jones signing, you like it. I was preaching for it where it's like the Giants, that would be one of those grass isn't always greener moves. You finally are winning games. The man had barely any receivers and was making it work. You got to pay him. And maybe not. They gave him a lot of money, but this is a new era of football where quarterbacks are taking up a big part of salary cap. If he plays really good for you, it's not a bad deal. Re-signing Saquon, or not re-signing, but getting that man back on contract for the year on the franchise, huge. Paris Campbell, love that. Jamison Crowder, love that. Darius Slayton, love it. Darren Waller, love it. Nunez Roches, love it. Bobby Okereke, love it. Like, Amari Oruwariye, it's one of those, it could pan out, it could look terrible, but they all have, every move they made almost has potential, and that's the most important thing. Jerry Davis never panned out in Detroit, but he feels he's got a good chance to pan out in New York too, so it's like, I like a lot of the moves they made.
Yeah, I mean, so my stance on the Daniel Jones stuff is that no one knows what goes on inside their building. It was Daniel Jones' first year with Dable, and he played relatively well for all things considered. Like, his stats maybe not there, but they won football games, and he looked better than he did in past years. And if the Giants truly like are looking at it and they're like, we think Daniel Jones is going to be better, then like, I don't hate it by any means. I don't think they should be clowned for it necessarily at all. They made the playoffs with him, and he looked fine.
Do you think they could have got Daniel Jones cheaper if they waited till after Jimmy G and Geno Smith signed?
I don't know.
I feel like they could have got him for like maybe $5 million less a year.
Yeah, maybe. It's just he's so young.
Yeah.
Those guys are old. You know what I mean? He's only 25.
That's the thing that would make it tough is I'm sure him and his agent would be like, you know, they'd be very adamant on like, but this is his first big deal. Like, you got to let him at least show you.
And that's why I disagreed, Hunter, just because it seemed like for like a month or two straight, him and his agent were very adamant about their stance and how much money it was going to cost. Like, they did not back down at all.
I think when I think about it, it's like, I think I give Daniel Jones a lot of a boost per se, because it's, I mean, really, if Richie James is your number one for like 90% of the year, not that, you know, Giants fans love him, you know, love some Richie James, but as a number one, it's just not really the move. And again, he made it work well enough. They won a playoff game with Richie James as their number one receiver. That takes talent to do as your quarter. You know, you got to be able to get the ball where it needs to be. You got to be able to read the field correctly for a whole game. He did that. He has enough where it warrants paying him this contract, in my opinion.
I blanked on the guy's name, but Hodgins was snapping for them too.
Isaiah?
Yeah.
No.
So I don't know if they get some legit weapons. Like, bro, can you imagine if? And I know this sounds weird to say, but like if they got like a D-Hop, like, do you think Daniel Jones' ceiling goes up a ton?
He's never had that guy.
I don't know. I don't know because I've not seen it, and I am not sold on the Daniel Jones project. I'm open to like the growth.
Sure.
But like, I'm not sold that like if you get him that number one, it's going to make or break him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Here's my thing.
No, that's fair.
To that point, last thing we can move on from the Giants, or if you have something to say too, but I think it's kind of the point, and I'm sure people have said this before, I'm not the first probably, but if I am, shouts to me. But I feel like we're kind of getting to that range where you can almost compare like Daniel Jones probably, like how his career arc will go, to like someone very close of like a Kirk Cousins. Like, yeah he's very consistent. He's good. He might not push you over the edge though. But, and that's what makes it so tough. There's a lot of guys in the league like that. Do you pay the guy that's just going to keep you floating and give you a 10%, 1% chance to win it? Or do you push through that era and say, I'm going to give myself 0% chance in this era, but tank till I get the guy that gives me the 40, 30, 50% chance, like a Mahomes, a Josh Allen, a Aaron Rodgers, whatever. Even, you know, obviously my math is wrong. You get my point though. It gives you a much bigger chance than the 1-2% where you're like, maybe if he plays perfect.
I'm going to be honest. I battle with this so often. I am a firm believer, and it's going against everything I just said about Daniel Jones, that if you do not have the guy that you believe can win a Super Bowl, it's like, what are you doing? Because you need that elite quarterback. And it's like,
I just think also this like hamstrings you. Because like your roster is only going to get better the next 2 years. And if you get to that point where Daniel Jones is not the guy, how low are you about to be in the draft to get a top guy?
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Yeah.
No, they're either gonna be in position where they have to make a big trade up in the future.
And that's what happened with Trey Lance. The roster was there. They traded up 3 firsts, and he ended up, jury's still out, but I don't think his job is there anymore, at least in San Francisco.
When we kind of like we've been saying when the whole thing was happening, like that's what made it such a weird thing. And yeah, no, it's a good comparison. I think the Giants are in a very weird position. Yeah, there's no, like I would say, it's one of those black and white things. Like, if you're either going to look back and be like, perfect, they needed to do that, or it's like, yeah, that set them back 4 years.
Yeah. So what are we going to give them?
I'm good with I think B.
I think B too. I think they could have done more at receiver, but I think Darren
Now that you
Waller
said it, I would
was
think we should
nice.
go B because the Daniel Jones thing just might not be it.
Yeah.
I was thinking A at first, but then I'm like, wait, Daniel Jones is just not a sure thing though.
Although,
but I'm so in the middle.
okay,
It's
well,
like,
just last thing real quick. They would have been fucked at quarterback if they did not resign Daniel Jones. Like, let's just call it what it is. For the next year at least, they retained Saquon, huge plus. And then, like, Bobby Okereke, good signing. Like, you touched on the other defensive guys. Like, I think all things considered, it was pretty solid.
well, and also I think we haven't even said this too. Last thing for the Giants, we give it a lot of time, but like it's almost one of those situations too, though, where it's like they were going through the mud for all these years to get back to the playoffs, to get back to being a winning team, and then the 1 year you finally get there, then you're like, well, the guy who got us back, we're going to kick him to the curb. We're going to go through the 3-4 years of getting good again. You know, the fan base is like, what the fuck is this? Like, you know, we finally did good, and you're going to. It's like, just from the fans' perspective, if you suck again next year after you kick the guy out that was your good, your good quarterback, and especially in New York, the media and everything, I think they could kind of put themselves in the safe position. Because if you didn't, and then you sucked, and you didn't get the guy, then everyone would be like, why didn't we pay Daniel Jones?
Yeah. I think they almost had to.